on whether these projects are overrated, underrated, fairly rated, whatever. We are waiting for more. Meantime, hello and welcome back, Cryptocito. Happy to have you on. How's Dubai treating you?
Yeah, thanks. It's always good to do these live streams. I think it's always fun. Like, and everybody is listening to this for the first time. Like, this is not our universal final end opinion about a certain project that we talk about. It's literally just a fun format to talk a little bit about projects that we know, that we follow, sometimes more, sometimes less. But yeah, Dubai is amazing. As you can see, I hope like during the stream, it will get a little bit clearer. We just have sunset here, so I think it's going to be epic in like 20-30 minutes. So let's see.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. So hopefully we will have like an epic view. But yeah, before we start, what a week. What a week. We experienced everything. We experienced a huge meltdown, aka the Silicon Valley Bank. Then we saw an amazing pump. Now we are dumping again. So where are you with your feelings right now?
I mean, I think 2022 was the worst year in crypto history for crypto. There was a lot of trust that was abused from big names that became really big really fast, right? So FTX, obviously, UST was more of a fail in the economics, but we went through a lot of stuff in 2022 and suffered a lot. But what we're seeing now is basically that this is not like crypto alone is not vulnerable to insolvency, liquidity crunches, mistrust, false investments, like money just getting lost. So we see this domino effect right now of a lot of banks. Some say there's also like one of the reasons is that they want to specifically target crypto-friendly banks because there's an attack on crypto. Like I don't know about that. I haven't read too much. But actually, if you zoom out and you think about what's happening right now with all these banks, right? Credit Suisse, $53 billion bailout from the Swiss central bank. This is nuts. Like those numbers are insane. So my belief is that, especially when it's about major banks, Credit Suisse was the 45th largest bank in the world, or still is. I think especially these large banks, they will not get insolvent. Like the government is going to bail them out immediately, like we saw, right? There's too much big money with these banks that they will let them just die. So it's obviously bad for like the whole financial sentiment and environment. But I think this actually makes the case even more so for crypto, like for real cryptocurrencies, decentralized, empowering the people, holding self-custody, right? Back to the principles, 2009, January 3rd, or in October 2008, basically, when the Bitcoin white paper was released, right? And then the first block went live, addressing the financial crisis in 2008. Like, we see this right now, but I think at the same time, it's also a stress test for crypto because there's the first time we have a banking crisis. So it's a lot of things coming together, a lot of uncertainties. It's very shaky, a lot of fear in the markets. And this time, not just crypto, this time, like everything, right? Investing, where do you park your money, right? We already see companies running on the banks, withdrawing their funds because nothing is safe right now. But the answer to it, in this case, literally, is actually crypto. So we'll see how it plays out. We're still a tiny experimental industry, but I think overall it makes the case for crypto. So let's see where it goes.
Yeah, and also we will dive deeper into what you mentioned with what currency is safe now, what stablecoin is safe now. We will also talk about that because we will also share our opinions on stablecoins, but more about that in a second. But yeah, let's dive straight into it. Let me just share my screen real quick. And please let me know if it's full screen.
Not yet full
and
screen.
And what about now?
Yes, yeah, now it's full screen.
Amazing. So I'm also, please, Cryptocito, now you have to keep a little bit track of what people are saying in the chat, since I can't see it if I have full screen on. But yeah, welcome back to Overrated, Underrated, diving deeper into our Cosmos projects. And the first thing that we will talk about is, because it's also a pretty hot topic right now, is replicated security. Cryptocito, you wanted to talk about that? You wanted to talk about replicated security. Maybe you could introduce us like real quick what it's all about and why you wanted to talk about it. And then from there you can elaborate on whether you think it's overrated or underrated.
Yeah, so I think severely underrated from the aspect that this is the first clear use case for Atom up until now. And Atom just celebrated the 4th birthday 3 days ago, March 13, 2019. The Cosmos Hub mainnet went live, the first Cosmos chain, the first Cosmos SDK-based chain, the first chain that implemented IBC 2 years later. Like, it's the OG chain in Cosmos, but it never really had a clear use case, right? It's just a competitive L1 within the Cosmos and IBC economy. So I think from the aspect that Atom now has yeah, you jumped. You're teasing. Yeah. From that aspect that Atom now has a clear use case, underrated. Now, is replicated security the end game? Is it scalable? No, of course not, right? It's just the first one. It has some sort of first mover advantage in Cosmos to be the first chain that can provide security for other chains. And the way it works, that's why it's also called replicated security, is that the entire Atom validator set has to validate new chains called consumer chains if they go through and pass through on-chain governance. So the Atom community eventually has to vote and decides if they want this consumer chain to rent security from the Cosmos Hub, which then doubles the infrastructure cost for validators, right? Like you guys, Cryptocito, like we all have to run a new server on that consumer chain. That's overhead for validators and not scalable, of course. So I don't expect to see 1,000 chains end of the year, right? I expect probably to see a couple of good chains. We're going to talk about Neutron in a second also. And that will prove the product market fit for that concept, right? And ideally, these consumer chains themselves have high traffic, accrue transaction fees and all these kind of things, which then accrues back to Atom stakers and predominantly validators because they have extra cost. So underrated from the aspect that it is the first use case. It's a new era, a new paradigm for the Cosmos Hub and Atom. You might say it's overrated from the aspect that replicated security is not the end game, right? It's just V1, very raw, unscalable, but it's there. Everyone's super happy, everyone's super excited, and now it's all eyes on Neutron to see how they will go to market and how they will capture some of that value in DeFi.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. So, I mean, from a technical perspective, if we break it down, like for me, if I would say, okay, let's compare replicated security with other shared security models, then I would argue that, yeah, it's a very like basic version and a basic way to secure other chains. I would say that, but you mentioned it. It's more about having this paradigm shift right now that we are adding more utility to Atom as a currency. And you mentioned that replicated security is just the beginning. I would say if replicated security would be like the end vision of interchain security, then I would say it's overrated. But since that's not the case, I just see it like as a step in between to like, to more advanced shared security models. Or what would you say?
Yeah, 100%. And Informal Systems, which is the company that developed replicated security, they are going to release a roadmap in the next days, which is basically showing, okay, replicated security is V1 of interchain security. V2, which they already started working on and like researching on, is going to be called opt-in security, which means a subset of Atom validators can validate new chains. That makes it a little bit more scalable and more attractive. And the end game is probably something like mesh security or like an in-between of these concepts, because mesh security is fundamentally different, but we also talk about this later. But yeah, it's exciting times for Atom. Also changes the tokenomics of Atom, because now we, like Atom stakers and validators, accrue value from those consumer chains. But that all depends on the success of these chains and if they manage to onboard users. So yeah, we're gonna see where it goes. But it's here now. Next steps is Neutron, the firm proposal. I don't know if it went live already, but it's going to go live, I think, today or tomorrow on the forum. And then it will go on chain, I think, early April, so 2 weeks from now. And then there's a 2-week voting period. If that passes, there's 1 week during which validators have time to set up their infrastructure. And then end of April, Atom stakers would basically potentially accrue value for traffic that happens on Neutron. So, yeah, just a month away.
Yeah, but let's dive deeper into that when we talk about Neutron, which will be very very soon. But you also, so just to make a cut here, you say replicated security is underrated.
Underrated.
I agree on that, since it's a paradigm shift. But yeah, you also mentioned mesh security. And let's talk a little bit about mesh security, because I think, so I picked mesh security because I'm a huge fan of it. By the way, Sunny Agarwal introduced us to mesh security during Cosmoverse 2022. So if you want to be always on top of everything, if you want to get all the alpha first, then there's only one solution, and that's by going to Turkey this year, to Istanbul, and to always attend Cosmoverse, because this is where all the alpha is happening. And yeah, this is how you stay on top of everything and how you are getting all the alpha first. So highly can recommend booking your flight tickets.
Yeah. Also, they didn't, like, Sunny didn't only introduce mesh security at Cosmoverse. They also built a prototype on at Cosmoverse, basically. So Jake Hartnell, the Juno team, Ethan Frey from Confio, right, the godfather of CosmWasm, Sunny, the Osmosis folks, like, they've been building a prototype during the conference. Like, that's wild. So you can't miss it this time if you missed it out last time.
So Cosmoverse, underrated.
Severely underrated.
Yeah, we have to shill our own coin here. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, back to the topic. Mesh security, for me, also severely underrated, because for me, this is the most promising shared security model that will exist. So I want to, in order to explain it to you, I want to stick to the analogy that Sunny drew during his keynote at Cosmoverse 2022, which has been that mesh security is something like the NATO of blockchains. So that we have different blockchains in the space, and these blockchains help secure each other. So they borrow each other's security. So say that Osmosis and the Cosmos Hub share their security with each other. So for example, the Osmosis blockchain could say, hey, we want to be partially secured by Atom stakers, say by 10%. And then the Cosmos Hub lends out the security to Osmosis, but also Osmosis could go ahead and say, hey, dear Cosmos Hub, we can offer you to secure the Cosmos Hub by, say, 5% because people are staking Osmo. And this is how we have this super anti-fragile ecosystem in which blockchains are securing each other. So it's like interchain security on steroids, because you do not only have one hub that is securing everything, but you have different, like, all the chains in the network that are securing each other. And this is such an elegant move, and I'm so excited about that, also because it's not a zero-sum game. So it's not something that would speak against interchain security, because again, also the hub could play the game of mesh security and could have like another layer of another security layer implemented. And this is why I'm a huge fan of it, because I think this could eventually be the sales pitch for the Cosmos ecosystem too. Like, it could be another sales pitch in order to launch your own app chain, because you not only say, hey, you can enable IBC, you can have your own blockchain via the Cosmos SDK, but you can also be secured by all the other Cosmos chains in the space. And also you can decide by how much you want to be secured. So it also adds a lot of flexibility for you as a chain. And this is all what I have to say, because I'm a huge fan, and I'm very, very excited about mesh security. It could be the most interesting and most exciting shared security concept that we have seen in the past few years. What's your opinion?
I think so. You say it's underrated, right?
Severely
What it
underrated.
sounds. Okay. I mean, also like to add on what you said, I think it's also a fundamentally different concept than replicating the validator set, because mesh security means basically interchain staking, right? So you allow different tokens to be staked on different chains, right? So for example, the Axelar chain and the Osmosis chain, basically they agree that say you can stake whatever 10% of the tokens on that chain and provide extra security and vice versa. So I think it's a fundamentally different concept that's also potentially more scalable. But I've heard some, and I'm not very deep like following all these conversations because there's like so much in Cosmos going on. It's like impossible to stay updated. But I think there's also some questions about how the incentive model is going to play out, how sustainable that aspect is. Like, is there enough incentive for me to actually do that, or is it just a nice concept? So I would say, from my perspective, maybe that's also a hot take. I think it's fairly rated. I don't think it's overrated, but I think it's fairly rated. Also, given that everyone is talking about it and hyping about it, right? And we see Sunny basically trolling. Oh yeah, replicated security is not much different than a smart contract on Osmosis. It's like, I don't know. I'm personally not a big fan of that type of communications, but I think it's fairly rated for the amount of hype it already has, and potentially it's also the end game for shared security, right? Is to have this mesh network of chains securing each other, and like whether that's going to be through leveraging the existing validators or interchain staking, or there's going to be more concepts. There's going to be Celestia coming up. Babylon also has an interesting shared security model, eigenlayer, right? There's like so much that's happening. So I would say mesh security fairly rated, from my view.
Interesting. I mean, you could argue that it's within the Cosmos ecosystem. It's fairly rated, but I think outside of the Cosmos ecosystem, the news about mesh security have not broken that much. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are just connecting interchain security with Cosmos, and that's it, and no other shared security models.
Yeah, but I watched this a little bit of the conference that happened around ETH Denver, organized by Eigenlayer and Babylon, and I think there's so many different approaches to shared security. I also know Zaki made a tweet about this, like security wars are coming this year with all these different shared security models, and there's going to be so much also block space, and the question is like, how much can mesh security absorb from that? Obviously, it's a strong position with Osmosis behind it, and Axelar and Juno and all these big names also in Cosmos. But we have to see how it plays out. I mean, it's not with us right now, so we can't rate it. Replicated security just launched, at least, so it's live now. We have to see how Neutron will play out. But mesh security, I think, is still 6 to 9 months away, as of my understanding. So let's see when it goes live.
Yeah. I think this is all what we can say here. Is let's wait what will happen next. Also, I want to pick up this one question from the chat from Mr. S. What do users need to do for interchain security and mesh to gain consumer tokens? There's no guidance or instructions yet, even so close to Neutron launching. But as far as I understood it right, so in terms of interchain security, you will just stake your atom, for example, on the Cosmos Hub, and then you will also earn Neutron, so NTRN tokens with it. I don't know how this will be displayed in the wallet, if that's the question, but essentially you will also earn Neutron tokens, but we will see how this will precisely work out. And with mesh security, it's another model. So,
but I would also add, it's very important that you pick validators that are active, because that's also going to be very interesting to see what happens when when replicated security onboards Neutron. Let's say the proposal passes end of April, it goes live, everything is fine. Which validators that are not doing that, they will technically, I guess, they would get jailed, or like they will become inactive. So make sure that your validator is active, is on top of the things. It might be a little bit of a reshuffling, like a redistribution of validators on the Cosmos Hub. and filter out the ones that are inactive. And that could even mean like a big one, right? Like, I don't know how that's going to play out, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I think you guys, friends, also Stakecito, like we also participated in Game of Chains. So we're highly anticipating that. But just make sure that you pick the right validator. And in terms of like earning tokens, I mean, consumer chains don't even necessarily have to have a token, but it's going to be probably very helpful for them if they have a native governance token, or if there's some good use case for it, to convince the validators and the delegators to vote yes on their proposal, right? There needs to be a sound economic incentive model for them. So, but yeah, that's why we're all waiting for the Neutron proposal to drop on the forum today or tomorrow. And from there, we know more about Neutron's approach and like, sustainability of the incentives.
Speaking of Neutron, this was also your pick. So let's talk about Neutron. I believe you had Avril on the show very recently from Neutron. So yeah, what's your opinion? Why did you want to talk about Neutron? And maybe you could give us like a small introduction into it.
Yeah, so Neutron is basically a brand new chain that's built from scratch that will be the very first consumer chain if everything passes. And it's a chain that's built by the P2P validator team that has been around since Genesis on the Cosmos Hub. They have been very early adopters of Cosmos. And they're also, the ones behind building Lido, which is the most successful, largest, and biggest liquid staking protocol on Ethereum predominantly, right? I don't know what's the market cap, but like 10 billion or something. Like it's in the multiple billions at least. So they know how to detect product market fit and how to build strong community around it, strong use cases around it. And they actually want to launch Neutron with a full stack DeFi, platform around it. So Avril told me that there's going to be a DEX, there's going to be also more DeFi applications. Eventually, more probably towards the end of the year, there's also going to be Lido launching on Neutron. So they really want to become a big DeFi platform in Cosmos, and they've done it on Ethereum and other networks. I wouldn't know why they couldn't do it on the Cosmos Hub as well, right? And that alone, I mean, it's not gonna cause life-changing, 100% APR for Atom stakers, but it can slightly increase the Atom APR, which is completely detached from the inflation, from the emissions of new Atom, and that changes the game for Atom tokenomics, right? So multiple aspects why I think Neutron is underrated, and I still think people don't really understand it. But we have to wait. Like when a proposal comes and there's not a giant, I don't know, airdrop or a giant percentage that goes to delegators and stakers, I think there's going to be a little bit of FUD, like, oh my God, we want to use shared security. We should all get very, very rich with it really fast. I think they will actually come out with a more conservative approach, also because Neutron was actually funded with, I think, 50,000 atoms, if I recall correctly, a couple months ago to develop this chain.
Governance proposal 72.
That was also controversial at the time, I remember. But I think, I mean, honestly, like the Cosmos Hub, like I said, right now does not have any clear use case. It doesn't have a clear product. So if there's a lot of voices against Neutron, I think that would be very bad for the Cosmos Hub. So I hope that they have a sound economic incentive model. They definitely have a solid roadmap. And like for everybody that wants to learn about it, listen to my 1 hour and 20 minutes deep dive interview from like literally last week or something. But yeah, I think severely underrated. But maybe in a week they propose something that's not as we think, and I look really dumb here. So let's see. It's all speculation right now. So let's see.
Yeah, but you mentioned it in the right way. Back then, it was in May 2022 or something, where people were not happy about seeing Neutron proposing this. And now I think we can, like, for me, it at least feels like it. I'm so happy that Neutron is about to launch and that the governance proposal passed. Because, yeah, governance proposal 72 was was being discussed very, very extensively. And back then we did not really understand the full scope of interchain security. So there were so many question marks, but Neutron was a very, very, very important paradigm shift also towards the launch of interchain security now, because it was actually the first confirmed product that confirmed launching with it, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I think Quicksilver wanted to. We will talk about Quicksilver in a second, but Neutron will be the very first project launching with interchain security and essentially committing to it. So underrated, right?
I think
Neutron.
underrated, yes.
Yeah, I agree on that. Then next one is Kava. I picked Kava, and the reason why I picked it is because I have a very, very interesting relationship to Kava. I think you remember it, Cryptocito, because I talked about Kava all the time in DeFi Summer 2020 when we just met, and I was a huge fan of Kava, and I was into Kava before I even knew about Cosmos. And Kava is a Cosmos SDK-based blockchain, and also I would put it into the sector-specific chain category, so to speak. Yeah, because there are like all kinds of DeFi products on top of Kava. We also have a lot of famous applications already that already launched on Kava. For example, Curve Finance, which is like an OG protocol from the Ethereum ecosystem. So it's a very, very impressive project actually, but strangely, Kava hesitated for a very long time to launch IBC. So when Kava enabled IBC, most of the chains that we know today in Cosmos have already enabled IBC months before that. So, for example, Osmosis was live for months already, and then Kava was like lagging behind. Also, Kava is does not have many IBC channels even today. So the only IBC channels that Kava has today is to the Cosmos Hub, to Akash, and to Osmosis. That's it. However, if you look at market capitalization and trading volume, Kava is technically the largest Cosmos chain. So they have Kava. Did you know that Kava has a trading volume of 60 million in the past 24 hours? 60 million.
I didn't know that.
That's insane. And the market cap is above 500 million. So if you talk about market cap and trading volume, Kava is much larger than Osmosis, I believe. So this is super interesting. Yet no one is talking about Kava, and we had this interesting discussion recently that Osmosis is gaining too much power and we need alternatives. And this makes me so mad. Theoretically, we already have a competitor to Osmosis, a serious competitor, which is Kava, because also Kava has an in-house decentralized exchange. So yeah, Kava should be one of the big Cosmos blue chips, but I don't know anyone working on Kava. I don't know anyone that is part of the Kava team. I haven't seen them at one Cosmos conference, not at Nebula, not at Cosmoverse, not at Atom Denver, not at Walk-Array. So it's very weird. You know what I mean? Have you ever met some of them at a crypto conference, like a Cosmos conference?
Not at a conference, no. But I actually, because when I was living in China in 2018, I had a good friend there, and he actually works at Kava. I don't know if he still works there, but he used to work there for 2 years, and he shilled the Cosmos SDK. Like, they're early Cosmos adopters, but you're right. Like, they're not engaging in community calls. They're not engaging on any conference. They're not part of any Twitter spaces. It's hard to get them on even like on a YouTube live stream, right? I did one actually with Aaron 2 years ago. Like, I think it was sometime in 2020, actually, almost 3 years ago. One of my first live stream, or like, I think it wasn't a live stream, but like interviews. But yeah, I'm the same like you. I mean, they're really big if you look at the numbers, but they're not out there. And I personally also don't know people that come to me and say, yo, there's this, you don't see activity on Twitter. You don't see users talking about Kava on Twitter. I don't know. I mean, it has high TVL. I don't actually know how many daily active or weekly active users they have. That would be interesting, because we also talked about Kava a couple of weeks ago, and about Kanto, and I think it gives me a little bit of Kanto vibes, right? Like a little bit under the radar. Some people hype it really hard, and then it has extremely high TVL, but the broader community is not talking about it. So I don't really know what to make out of it. But I mean, good for Kava. Like they're apparently killing it with the numbers. So yeah, I don't know. I would say, I don't know. Did you already say what you rated? Over or underrated?
I will come to that in a second, because there's also one thing I also want to mention is they also launched a developer incentivization program, and I think it's above 700 million. So it's really insane. Kava is an ecosystem, is the ecosystem in the Cosmos with the largest number, so to speak. So whenever I talk about Kava, or when I hear something about Kava, it's always about big names launching on Kava, or big numbers
Sushi Swap
coming
also.
in. Yeah, Sushi
Yeah.
Swap also. So you know what I mean? Kava should be like, because we also talked about FMOS's TVL, like during our last session. Like Kava, it would be the largest of them all, and yet they don't feel like a Cosmos project. This is the reason why I think they are overrated at the current stage, because I don't see the value behind all of these numbers. That's the thing. I really can't understand how the trading volume is being generated, and yeah, I really, for me, Kava is not tangible, and it's such a pity, because Kava is actually the very first Cosmos project that I interacted with, even before Atom. And I actually also made a very good trade with Kava back in DeFi Summer 2020. I remember that. But yeah, since then, ever since, I have like a strange relationship to Kava. Because the thing what frustrates me a little bit is I would love to see Kava super active in the Cosmos ecosystem, because then, I mean, we would not have this ridiculous discussion whether Osmosis has too much power, because Kava would have been a serious competitor to all of the other chains that are live or will be live very, very soon. So yeah, I hope that they come.
Yeah, and there was also some beef with the Tarsis developers, right? With the builders of Ethermint, because Kava took it, and I think they actually call it the Kava VM, even though it's basically Ethermint. And there was some back and forth. Like I don't want to judge like if they're right, if they're wrong, but like just this beef, like that, I don't know. I think Kava started, and then FMOS also like got emotional. The Tarsis team and like went on it, and there were proposals to like get paid and whatever. But I don't know. It's a little bit drama sometimes. That whenever I hear from Kava on Twitter, like that, it's oftentimes involved in drama, like whether that's IBC or the EVM stuff or Ethermint. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I don't know. I can't. Probably fairly rated.
Yeah, for me it's underrated, but I really overrated. For me, it's overrated at the current stage, but I would really love to say in a couple of weeks from now that it's completely underrated. So yeah, I hope that this will be the case in a couple of weeks, because please, Kava, be more active in Cosmos. We want you and we need you. So please come to all the Cosmos conferences, join the YouTube channels. We miss you. We miss you, because Kava is one of the OG Cosmos projects. I remember looking into projects that were part of Cosmos, and yeah, Kava was actually the only one back then. Like this only serious project back then. Because Osmosis wasn't live, Osmosis was not even announced. So crazy, really crazy. I'm a little bit frustrated that they're not so active in the
Yuri
Cosmos.
said. Yuri said.
Yeah, please make me say Kava is underrated on the next stream. But right now, apologies for that. But right now, for me, it's overrated. Okay, next one is Cosmos Gaming. You wanted to talk about this, and I think it's a great idea, because you also had Saga on your stream very recently.
Exactly, yeah. So Cosmos Gaming right now, in existence. We're like lacking, like, or not we, but like the ecosystem is lacking behind so much when it comes to gaming. We know Passage, they're building virtual worlds. they're building the Strange Clan, and I think they do it really, really correctly because they build out a huge community around it. They have this whole story around the Strange Clan, right? They wrote a prologue. They're like working on really the story around it. I think that what makes a good game good is the whole culture around it. So I think Strange Clan is taking the right approach. But also there's not a real platform, like where do you launch it, right? Like there's no gaming hub in Cosmos right now. I know some projects tried to do it on Juno, but then migrated away. There's also projects that were trying to do it elsewhere, or like on Stargaze or Omniflix. But I think like none of them is specifically targeting gamers or like game developers, right? GameFi. So I wanted to talk about this because I had a very good conversation with Rebecca Liao, the founder of, co-founder and CEO of Saga. Saga originally was supposed to be this canary network to the Cosmos Hub. They went through a lot of iterations and changes, and now they're full speed working on becoming the gaming hub of Cosmos. Knowing the needs of game developers and then optimizing the chain, the performance, and everything for specifically that use case. So it's an app chain for gaming and entertainment. They already have a pipeline of 150 projects which are in their innovators program. Most of them are games. So that could be a really big chance for any game project to come to Cosmos, to explore the technology, to become part of the IBC gang, interoperability, the giant community that's there. And I guess a lot of them are gamers. But yeah, it's currently inexistent. So there's nothing to rate. But hopefully in the future we can see more and more chains launching, real users, and then we can say it's severely underrated. But right now it's really not existent, so nothing much to talk about it.
Yeah, I think we can also put this a little bit more broadly. I think generally crypto gaming is overrated right now at the current stage, because let's be honest, the only reason why we play those games are because being early is getting rewarded very decently. So if we remember the good old times with Axie Infinity, for example, if you were there at the right time, you made a lot of money. I also made a lot of money with a super random NFT game built on top of the Harmony chain. Really, it was like in the deepest nowhere of the crypto industry. And I played this NFT game, and this was during the bull market, and I made some very good money with that. But that's the only reason why you would play these games, because most of the times the UX and the gaming experience is not good at all, and you're not really enjoying playing the game. And I think this is what needs to change. So I've envisioned the future of crypto gaming in that way, that the games are still stored on centralized servers, or you need to buy a certain piece of hardware to play it, i.e. with a PlayStation, and then you put in the disc. I think this will still be a case, but that all of the game items are interoperable. So you can, for example, buy a jersey in FIFA and play with it in NBA 2K, and yeah, everything is like the transactions itself, bringing game items between each other, that this is being executed via a blockchain. This is how I envision it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a gamer at all. I only play FIFA sometimes, but not really frequently.
And then you lose against me.
That's not, there's no proof of that. If it's not on a blockchain, it never happened. But I just looked up the numbers. According to Statista, the number of video gamers worldwide stood at 3.03 billion in 2022. So that's a huge market, a huge addressable market. And crypto gaming in general has captured nothing of that so far, like a little bit, but not really, not substantially. So that's still, and like the race isn't decided yet, right? I know there's games on Polygon, a lot of them, but that's probably just the first wave of like adoption, right? And Cosmos is well positioned to capture some of that value if there's a proper gaming hub. And Saga could be that one, Passage could be that one. Stargaze could also amplify to become a gaming hub. I know Liam has been working on some ideas to launch a game on Stargaze. So yeah, it's right now inexistent. That's why I would say it's like you can't even rate it. But hopefully, Cosmos can capture some of that market share and onboard millions of users, if not at some point, that could bring in the first billion users into crypto, and like real users that not come for the financial incentives, but actually because it's a cool game and it's somehow different. We need that somehow different type of game. So I have to turn on the light, by the way. 1 second.
But yeah, TLDR, very promising. Cosmos Gaming, but not existent yet, which is why we can't rate it. And while you are taking care of the light, I will introduce our community to the next project that we will rate, which is Quicksilver. And I'm a huge fan of Quicksilver, so yes, I believe it is underrated. We touched based on Neutron earlier, saying that Neutron was the first project committing to interchain security. This is not entirely true. I think Quicksilver was committing to interchain security even before Neutron did. However, they stepped back. So Quicksilver said in mid 2022 that they won't commit to interchain security anymore, which is why they won't launch with it. But they also did not say that they will never ever leverage interchain security. So it is yet to see whether Quicksilver will ever leverage interchain security. But what is Quicksilver essentially all about? Quicksilver is a liquid staking blockchain. So you can stake, for example, Atom on Quicksilver, help secure the Cosmos blockchain with that and get rewarded for it while prevailing the capital efficiency. So you are not locking your atoms away and then you can't touch it for 14 days or so. No, that's not the case with Quicksilver and with liquid staking in general. You basically get a representation of your stake position issued, and this stake position can be used in DeFi for all kinds of things, i.e. providing liquidity, swapping it, whatever. So this is pretty cool. And liquid staking has seen a huge hype already and most likely will become even bigger, and Quicksilver could become one of the leaders in the sector. And what I love about Quicksilver is, you mentioned Lido in the beginning, so all of these liquid staking solutions have different approaches. So because with liquid staking, there are some problems. For example, how can the user pick a validator? So when you do liquid staking, your atoms, for example, still need to be staked at the end of the day. But then the question is, how will these atoms be staked and with which validator? And most of the liquid staking protocols, they just choose it for you. They, for example, work with 5 or 6 validators, and then the liquid staking protocol says, okay, we are just delegating our atoms to these 5 or 6 validators that we chose. And of course, this bears a risk in terms of centralization. But Quicksilver gives all the power back to the user, saying, hey, you pick your validator on your own. We just provide you the service or the entry area to do liquid staking, but you will still have full access to your governance rights, to your validator picking rights. And this is what makes me so incredibly excited about Quicksilver, because also governance, the issue with governance is being solved, because even if you do liquid staking, you still participate in governance on Cosmos and vote the way you would like to do it. That's not the case on all the other liquid staking solutions today. So Quicksilver is a true pioneer here and focuses on giving the power back to the user who wants to do liquid staking. And this is why I am incredibly happy to see Quicksilver launching soon. Their mainnet will go live very soon. So very happy about that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we need more liquid staking providers. I think Quicksilver in the beginning, they were super exciting, because I remember I had an interview with them almost a year ago now. I think around a year ago, actually. And they were, like you said, we're going to be a consumer chain. We're going to leverage ICS. We're going to implement liquid staking module, which I think is not even live yet. But things obviously also got delayed and all these kind of things. But I think in the beginning, they they overhyped it a little bit. Stride, in the meantime, is absolutely killing it. They gained so much traction, and they're like so well positioned as the liquid staking protocol in Cosmos. P-Stake, in the meantime, also went live, is capturing some of that value. I think 30,000 atoms have been staked through P-Stake so far, so that's also great numbers. STK atom liquidity gets on Crescent, gets on Osmosis, gets into UMI. Quicksilver needs to deliver now. I mean, it's been delayed, so we have to see. But the bottom line, I think the more liquid staking providers, the better. So I'm still very positive about the developments from Quicksilver. But yeah, I know you also made a video about this, right? Comparing all these different protocols recently. So I have to watch that to see in detail how all these protocols differentiate on a product and technical level. But yeah, I think bottom line, we need more diverse liquid staking providers. Quicksilver is one of them. We already have 2 live. We actually have 3. Stuffy is also already live. Lido's coming. Stader Labs, I think, is exploring to migrate also to Cosmos. Yeah, so good times in liquid staking land on Cosmos. Bullish.
Yeah, 100%. We need as many as possible. As many as possible of them. Also because it also reduces the risk of centralization, since the more liquid staking solutions we have, the more competitive the market, and the harder it would become for a liquid staking solution to become the winner of them all and become too large too soon. I mean, you mentioned Lido in the beginning. Lido is all fun and games, but in the Ethereum ecosystem, it is the only liquid staking solution. So that's not true, but it feels like it. It feels like it that there's nothing else than Lido, and Lido has gained a lot of power over Ethereum. So this is I would like to avoid these things in the Cosmos ecosystem, and again, different liquid staking solutions, different approaches, different advantages. And Quicksilver is all about giving the power back to the fellow user. And one last thing I want to add, 50% of the total supply of Quicksilver will be used for a never-ending airdrop. Did you hear about this yet?
No.
No, the idea is that they use 50% of the supply, and they will continually hand out a portion of these 50% as an airdrop to new stakers of a chain that they onboard. So let's say, right now, Quicksilver will only serve Stargaze, like only serves Stars liquid staking and Atom liquid staking. And say they would onboard Juno tomorrow, then Juno stakers would receive an airdrop. And let's say one day later FMOS is doing that, then all the FMOS stakers would get an airdrop, and so on and so forth. So this is how they also decentralize their supply in a very, very, very interesting way. So yeah, I am bullish on Quicksilver, also because Stride was, as you mentioned, pretty successful. So let's see how Quicksilver will prevail. Underrated in my book.
Yeah, also I would say slightly underrated maybe, or fairly rated, because I think like first, like a year ago, severely overrated. Now probably slightly underrated. And I think the token concept you said, I think Stride actually also has that, right? That they have allocated a portion of the Genesis supply for incentives for onboarding new chains, as far as I recall. I don't know top of my head, but I think that's also the case, which I think makes sense. And like, that's good, right? That's healthy. Like, you need to dilute your own token supply, but also to dilute liquidity on different protocols, different chains, and the more the better. So
also slightly underrated.
Yeah, slightly
you say
underrated.
Slightly. Okay. Next one, stars. So the last ones, we will do them together, but maybe you could share your initial thoughts on Stargaze. I would say a true Cosmos OG project. I mean, as OG as it can get, and Shane is a great guy, so yeah, maybe you want to introduce us to that.
No, we also have to make these fire rounds, because I have to go in 5 minutes. But Stargaze,
severely underrated. The NFT marketplace, strong branding, strong culture, great collections there, bad kids, right? If you don't have a bad kid, like you're not even in Cosmos, like, you know, it's amazing, the culture around it. And like I say, they have been focused on building, on shipping. They work on different concepts for which they also announced at Cosmoverse. I don't remember the, like, was it something like interfluid or something like that? I don't remember the term, but basically something how you could earn yield with your NFTs. I don't know the exact name of that thing, but they have that. They had the Stargaze domains, the whole marketplace, also this NFT standard for interchain NFTs. So there's a lot of stuff coming out of Stargaze, and I think it's severely underrated. Also, it's the most decentralized chain according to the Nakamoto coefficient, as they are current title holders of the Cosmoverse Award for the most decentralized chain. Let's see how they perform this year. But yeah, they're a team of builders. That, you know, maybe sometimes they should hype it up a little bit more, but also maybe not. I mean, the community is there, right? The market cap, I don't actually know right now, but I think it's probably has a lot of upside, but it's also not really dead, right? So it's like it's in a very good position right now. But yeah, we need more and more NFT artists joining, building on Stargaze, deploying their collections. So yeah, severely underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I will keep it short, but I agree with you. It's severely underrated. But my pitch for it is a little bit different. For me, Stars is a 5-year horizon bet, so to speak. I believe what I've mentioned in the beginning when we talked, or not in the beginning, but when we talked about crypto gaming, I think that the future will be will look like that. That you play a game and you have, for example, different game assets in these games, and then at some point you are able to transfer these game assets between different games. And I think Stargaze could become this hub for games connecting, like opting into Stargaze, and on Stargaze you can trade different game items and take them from Stargaze to all kinds of games that are designed in what way whatsoever. But this is why I am very bullish on Stars. For me, Stars is the crypto. It's also like a crypto gaming bet, and this is why I'm very, very bullish on Stars. Yeah, and as you mentioned, the market cap went down significantly.
Yeah.
Last one, centralized stablecoins. Wow, this was a weekend. So there's never a boring day or a boring weekend in crypto. And now everyone came out and said, hey, the recent USDC drama was once again the proof that we need more decentralized stablecoins. So what about all these centralized stablecoins like USDC and Tether? So overrated, underrated? Please share your opinion on that.
I think they're necessary evils in that sense, because they don't change anything about decentralization, right? But they make it easier for people to opt in and out of true cryptocurrencies. So we shouldn't actually label them as cryptocurrencies. They're just like digital dollars, basically, or digital fiat. But again, it's a good thing because crypto is extremely volatile. There's extreme risks in crypto. So asset-backed stablecoins or centralized stablecoins that have transparent audits, which in the case of Circle, they actually have, which still doesn't protect them from liquidity crunches like they almost had over the weekend with 3.3 billion, which would have meant the fair value for a USDC would be 91 point something cents. So you're never protected fully. And also you always have to think about what is an asset-backed stablecoin backed by, if it's backed by dollars, right? It's basically backed by faith in the Fed, right, in the central bank. So you're not really changing the game here, but you make it easier for people to get on and off-boarded into crypto, to also hedge their risk, or to at least diversify their risk. So necessary evils, but I think, especially with Noble in mind, that's going to bring native USDC issuance into Cosmos. Very, very exciting stuff, much needed, strong product market fit. I'm very looking forward to that. I'm very much looking forward to that. Because also think about go away from like thinking you personally as a crypto ape that made some money somewhere and you want to store it in USDC. Think about all the projects that keep their treasury in stablecoins, right? They don't hold it in a brand new algorithmic stablecoin with closed source code. They want to keep it in something that at least on paper sounds legit or more legit, right? And Circle is the most legit stablecoin in crypto, and native USDC in Cosmos is much needed. Also, you hedge against bridge risks, right? Because right now, all USDC liquidity in Cosmos is bridged through Axelar or Gravity or whatever. So I don't know, fairly rated or even underrated, I would say. I don't love stablecoins, but we need them, and people have to like admit and understand that. I think we just need more diverse stablecoins, also different fiat-backed stablecoins, as commodity-backed stablecoins, like stablecoins backed by gold. Yeah, that's what I would say. But I have to run now, actually. So
yeah, I will keep this super short.
1 minute, and then
yeah, I will keep this super short. I think it's at the current stage, it's underrated. Since what you mentioned, after the weekend, everyone was like acting as if USDC would be the most insecure thing ever. But yeah, USDC stayed stable, and this is for a period of for amount of time. So yeah, I think they are like people are like shitting on USDC too much for my taste now, and this is why I think they are a little bit underrated right now, and people are not appreciating them that much, since they also help projects staying profitable, help projects hedging against crypto's volatility. So I think they are generally a good thing, but we need more stablecoins, and if you want to stay completely safe, then you need to distribute your holdings. But you mentioned it, you need to run. Just one last thing, stay tuned, guys. We will announce the Cosmoverse dates very, 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 very soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. We really can't wait shipping Cosmoverse 2023 to Istanbul this year. And yeah, what can I say? You can expect a lot of cool things this year, but I won't dive too deep into detail now. And yeah, Cryptocito, thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time once again. And if you want to follow Cryptocito, as always, you can find the link to his Twitter profile in the description below. And then I see you next month.
Thank you so much. Also, thanks for the questions, everybody. And also, if you have ideas or want us to discuss certain things on the next time, comment under the tweet, under the video, so we can rate projects, people, ideas, whatever, the next time. So cheers. I got to run. We'll talk.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you, Cryptocito. Bye-bye.